Hello, welcome to the next OVP webinars. Today my guest is Zbyszek.
Hello.
Zbyszek, only Zbyszek?
Zbyszek Paris.
Zbyszek Paris. Zbyszek is of course one of a friend of mine, and he's taking the solution architect. He's a solution architect at Red Hat. We met with Zbyszek more than 10 years ago.
Yes.
There was a few different roles.
Exactly.
But also regarding the storage, world.
Storage and operating system.
Yes. So I was only doing the same thing, the backups. What doesn't matter. So today we have a subject, the Red Hat Ceph Storage 4, the role of Ceph in vProtect architecture and in the Red Hat. But actually we'll do it in opposite. We will more concentrate on the Red Hat part. So I don't want to kill you because of the vProtect and because it's my product. So vProtect will be in the end of the presentation. But we'll go and deep dive, talk about why Ceph, in our opinion, it's quite significant solution and important for I think most of the storage admin, and not only storage admin, but the storage people, that they should care, and IT infrastructure itself, that they should care about some challenges that we have. Zbyszek, few words from you?
Well, generally in Red Hat I focus on the infrastructure part of the portfolio of the Red Hat. I have deep knowledge about operating system, about Ceph Storage. If you have any question about those products, then just contact me.
Okay, so let's move on. So I will start briefly with some challenges. So let's go to the next slide. So we divided the presentation in 4 sections.
And 5 sections.
5?
Yes, because at the end of the presentation I have interactive demo.
Definitely. Okay, so there is no only the slide deck, no worries.
Absolutely.
So it won't be only the sales page, but we will have some technical demo on it.
Absolutely.
So 5 points. I will start with why having the right storage is important today. It will be some challenges that I'm describing that are actually all the time, keeping us, alive and demanding of the storage. It's more likely every year. You know how many exabytes we have right now worldwide?
I have no idea.
I have the same. I don't have. Maybe
I think nobody know.
Maybe question to the audience. So give us a comment. How many exabytes? I think exabytes it can be a good option. We have, or what's the growth actually in a daily basis. Then rethinking an introduction to the Red Hat Ceph, and then we'll talk also about the vProtect itself. Okay, let's move on. So actually we need to start why we're talking today about the Ceph itself, and why the Ceph, because Ceph is not a new product.
Absolutely.
But this is what's going on the market, let's say, giving us the question in which direction we should go, and actually what is the major reasons why the typical methodology and infrastructure method, like putting only the new arrays, it's not enough. So let's go see these challenges. So you can see there are 3 different reasons. First one, I really do like the 23% of annual increase of unstructured data. So we can see that we're doubling this data in every 40 months and 23% of the year growth. So this is what I asked you before, how many exabytes we have. It actually doesn't matter because this data is keeping growing all the time. The next thing is that the world is investing in the AI more and more. So it means that we need to gather more and more data. And IoT, it's fortunate and unfortunately giving us, we would like to, collecting roughly about 50 billion different devices. We need to have a place where we can store the information about these devices, and we need to have a place how to properly analyze it to give the AI, something to do. So I think we have 3 reasons why we still need more and more data. And when I with 10 years started to doing a presentation about the storage, it looks actually the same, but the years was different. But so we gathered the pace. We need to store more and more data each year. I like the slide because it's representing in a bigger environments how many of course, people we need to cope with this amount of the data. There's a zettabytes here.
Exactly, zettabytes.
Zettabytes, not exabytes.
Not exabytes.
Okay. Exabyte maybe 10 years ago. But you can see that if we have a 50, we need at least 5 people to cope with it. I think if it's still even the optimistic scenario. I think in most cases when we handle with the environments, if we go even into the petabytes, then we need to have a dedicated team to start to cope with all of the challenges. But let's see what's going on in 5 years. So in a row, we will see that we will hit 175. This is one of the let's say trends that IDC is showing here with the Seagate. So instead of 50, we'll go into the 175, and the expectation is that we will need not only double, but even triple the team that we need to have for only for the management and the maintenance purposes.
Logarithmic growth of the storage.
And will never change. Okay. So this presentation, it's focused for you to a little bit rethink your idea how you should perceive the storage itself, and what's behind the scenes, so what the Ceph can give you from the Red Hat itself. So we need to cope with the 3 major topics, so the scalability, simplicity, and security. And I think it's because of the amount of the data, it's more and more important topic. My, let's say, guess and the hot topic is, I think, the scalability. I'm not thinking that the storage itself is so, let's say, hard. This is how we did in last 10 years, the roadmap in every vendor. I think the scalability is not the major concern. I think the more security and the scalability is both. But my pick is let's focus on the growth that we need to challenge with. So please later on, Zbyszek talk more about the scalability and the security part. Okay. So if we'll here, so we need to tackle these challenges. We'll not talk today about the money, so cost effective is only for the slides, but keep in mind that you need to find a way how to easily, maybe simplicity is how to easily, not only manage, but how to easily add a new storage and manage it. But let's focus on the scalability and interoperable, or I cannot say this word. The second topic for the I doesn't matter, but let's focus that the modern world needs the easier integration. So not only to go into the scale, but how to cope with the different formats, how to go with the different type of the systems. And we know that we not only talk about the bare machine, like we had in 20 years ago. We're not talking about only the virtualizations machine that we have been talking 10 years ago, but we have a new workloads like cloud and containers. That is really important. So we should think about to have one storage to cope with all of the different sources.
Absolutely. And well, the cost effective is, I think, in current time, one of the major part of the new project. Why? Because to Ceph you can using commodity hardware with commodity component, not only from proprietary solutions from other vendors. One time you can buy servers and disk from one vendor, second time from second vendor, based only on the price, on the current, current weather.
So if we have today, let's say sunny, let's take a Seagate.
Exactly.
But it's we call it in Storware freedom of choice when we have it doing the backups, and we're saying, take the one of the destination that we are supporting. You don't need to vendor lock in here.
Absolutely.
So quite the same philosophy we can take in the
same approach. Okay. The same approach. So, well, what is exactly Ceph? Ceph is, of course, like in every product in Red Hat portfolio, open source solution, which is built for the modern workloads from clouds, from containers, of course, for the backup, and for the backup solutions. Okay, what is the key major thing when I think about storage? Well, this is a very efficient platform, can deliver object block in file at the same time. Of course, it's scalable. It's scalable to petabytes, to billion of the object which you can store into the Ceph.
What do you mean by, it's maybe for one of the audience it's obvious, but please define the software-defined storage here in a Ceph meaning, yes?
Okay, it's very easy. As I mentioned, you need to buy some servers, some physical servers with disk. For example, I show some Chinese vendor which built 4U server with 75 of the HDD can put inside.
Okay, so 4U, 75 HDD hard drives.
Yes. At this server you can install, of course, Linux, and you can install some open source solution, in this case Ceph, and that's all. In the old time, the installation of the Ceph, the configuration, the basic task of the Ceph is a very complicated process. Red Hat do already automatize this whole process using the Ansible, but at the end of this presentation I show you the new solution from Red Hat, which is web-based on the Cockpit project, which is extended by Red Hat, of new component to absolutely in easy peasy way install Ceph with every of this feature what I already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is the key feature of Ceph? The first, of course, is easy to deploy. Like I mentioned, you can deploy the Ceph on the bare machine based on classical RPM packages or in the containers, which is at this moment preferred way. Easy to manage, etc., etc. Second, of course, the basic engine of Ceph using two different type of stored data. First is the replication. Second, still more cost effective, erasure coding. Of course, we have inline compression. Of course, we have encryption. You can connect the Ceph to the Active Directory, for example, to using as authorization port. We improved the Blue Store as a backend. At the next slide I describe what is the Blue Store. Of course, we improved the Ansible part of the installation to easiest deliver you new features.
And there's one point, ability to handle 1 billion objects, because when I read about this a few years ago, it was more positioned as, let's say, great, even the comparison with the other object storage vendors. It's how the Ceph today positioning? It's still concentrated on this side, or?
Well, technically, the Ceph doesn't have any limits. There is no limit of the number of the using OSD. OSD, it's mean, for example, hard drive. There is no limit of the capacity of the Ceph.
Okay.
Of course, from a supportable point of view, the Red Hat gives you some.
Always must be some limits.
Exactly.
But from the architectural point of view.
Exactly. For example, the Red Hat Ceph is supportable to 5,000 of the OSD. It means 5,000 of hard drives can you put in this single cluster. Second, the Red Hat don't support the HDD more than 12 terabytes.
Okay, so 5,000 disk with 20 terabytes maximum capacity.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is only formally limits. There is not technically limit.
Okay.
Okay, and what gives you Ceph? Gives you capability to share your data through the S3 protocol, through the block protocol, through the, for example, old but still using NFS protocol. Okay, so what is the benefits of the Red Hat storage? Massive scalability, like we mentioned, billion of the object, single solution, I mean you can share the data from your cluster to the very different operating system in different ways. Block, file, object, everything in the same time.
What's your favorite option?
Well, of course, object storage.
Okay.
But in many cases I'm using CFFS, which is POSIX file system, like classical file system, like NFS file system, etc. But using built-in protocol can give you ability to using massive writing to your cluster.
Okay, but you don't see, let's say, now we have 2020, so it should be easier. But do you see still some, let's say, mental problems that it's too big, we don't want to have the object storages? I'm preferring to have a typical old school array with the 2 controllers and 24 disk. And how?
Well, it depends because the Ceph gives you capabilities similar to the classical arrays, gives you capability to using block object. It's in terminology of the Ceph called RBD, Rados Block Device. Can be directly consumed by, for example, OpenStack, for example, by QEMU virtualization engine. Of course, you can share this data, for example, through the iSCSI protocol to the, I don't know, Windows server. But still, there is very good feature, but in my opinion, there is an old way how to consume the space of the arrays.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going a more technical deep dive into the Ceph. So, as we mentioned, we have 3 capabilities to using Ceph as a storage. First is object storage, in terminology of the Ceph called Rados Gateway. Then at the end of the process of the installation, you just put your object or connect your I don't know, backup system to the S3 protocol directly to the Ceph, to the Rados Gateway. Second is classical block device, in terminology of the Ceph called Rados block device. It's easy to set up, it's easy to consume, because after create the new volume, after connect this volume to your, I don't know, Linux server, you just see the device called RBD0, and you can put this device to the, I don't know, virtual machine, or you can format your best file system solutions. And the last is CFFS. CFFS is compatibility with POSIX file system. Can we be directly mounted in the Linux operating system? Of course, you need to mention that Ceph inside at the drive is built on the object storage. It's called Rados.
Okay. So the base is the object storage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then to give you capability to using this object storage as a file storage, you need some small part of the system called MDS, metadata server, which is translate POSIX calls to the object storage calls.
Okay, from the let's say installation point of view, let's keep the next slide. I think it's so from the installation point of view. So you said about we have a different OSDs. It's OSD1, OSD2, OSD3. It means actually the storage unit. So it will be in the end, it will be one of the servers. So connecting compute with the storages. So do we need a raw disk, or it should be at a file system level attached?
Good question. Well, the first, try to avoid some storage solution like writes, because the Ceph doing itself. The preferred way to using disk drive in Ceph is JBOT.
Okay, so the JBOT philosophy without any additional, file system or the write itself.
Why? Because Ceph is strictly consistent. What it means, if you ask Ceph to write some data, if you give, for example, I don't know, some disk operation, the data from your server, it's written on first primary OSD, I mean hard drive. The process, because the default of the design how to secure your data is replication. At this screen you see replica free. Then the process automatically starts the write your object to the two other disk. This disk can be put it in other server or other, I don't know, rack, or other, I don't know, data center.
The question is beginning of it's a synchronous or asynchronous process?
This process is absolutely synchronous.
Okay.
So after acknowledge from every of free OSD, the operating system gives information, okay, your data is stored correctly. The read is much simple. If the primary OSD existing and working, then you just read your object from this disk. That's all. It's easy and simple. Okay, this picture is a little complicated because now you see every of single pieces what is built inside the Ceph. You see the access layer, Rados gateway, Rados block device, or librados. You put your data into the pools. Pools can be handled by different type of disk. For example, you can create pool which is putting only on rotation disk, or you can put data on the pool which is on, I don't know, SSD on NVMe card. There is information, small information about how to client decide where your data can be written. Second layer is a placement group. Placement group is some kind of whirlpool, how to divide data between many of disks in your cluster.
Okay.
Of course, very important, crash map. Crash map gives you information what is exactly the security level of your data. For example, the default method is secure data from different disks. It means if you have replica free, your data never can be stored in copy of your data never can be stored on the same disk.
By design, we have a replica 3. Can we
Yes.
decrease this number to replica 2, for example?
Of course, on the fly.
Okay, so there's no problem
Absolutely
here.
on the fly. Of course, you can decrease to 1 of replica, which of course doesn't make sense, but if you can, you are administrator.
And you said before we have erasure coding, yes?
Yes.
So we don't need to store, let's say, double or triple
Absolutely,
the data.
absolutely. But you need to remember there is a slowest method because you need to count additional data to store your object.
Okay.
Cost effective but slowest. Okay, the last thing on this picture is this 3 key element called monitors. Monitors doesn't cover data but cover architecture of the cluster, architecture of the every single OSD in the cluster, and gives this information to the client when the client login into the Ceph cluster. Here it's a how kind of feature in storage, because there is a Ceph, but Ceph managed by Rook operator. Rook operator for container storage hide every of this complex deployment, etc. from you, and gives you easy way to implement Ceph as a storage for containers, for example, for OpenShift.
Okay, so when I will hear the Rook implementation in OpenShift is quite of the, let's say, sub options of the Ceph itself.
Absolutely. In Red Hat terminology, it's called Ceph, not Ceph, OpenShift Container Storage.
Okay. OpenShift Container Storage. We need to learn.
Yes.
By heart.
We, in the January, released the new version of the Red Hat Ceph, Ceph version 4. What we add to this product? We add the new dashboard. Now this dashboard gives you not only information about performance, but gives you ability to do something. For example, I don't know, you need to create a new user for object storage, and gives you access to some bucket. In easy way, you can just in a few clicks do it in this graphical console. Of course, this console gives you ability to, for example, using quality of service on every layers of this storage. For example, you need to, I don't know, decrease of the IOPS from some RBD device because the application which is using this disk consume too much resources. This console gives you this ability. And when we switch from the file store to Blue Store, we show how Blue Store gives additional speed up to Red Hat Ceph. When we test the version 4 of the Ceph on the same Blue Store OSDs, we got increase too. Then just simple upgrade of the Ceph in this configuration gives you more power from your storage. So, what gives you Red Hat Ceph Storage version 4? It's simple, it's scalable, it's secure. It gives you, for example, encryption, because I didn't mention then every of OSD can be encrypted. Gives you improved automation. For example, I show in this short demo how to in easy way deploy the Ceph.
Yeah, we have a proof for the easier installation, I guess. So let's go see it. Before I think I have two of my slides. So coming back, we promised that we also speak about the role of the Ceph in a vProtect. There are actually the two different flavors how we can use the Ceph itself. One is the source. So if you will go on the left side here, you will see the different hypervisors and the OpenStack itself or the OpenShift. So if we're talking about the OpenShift or the OpenStack or the Red Hat virtualization platform, if we have below the Ceph, we can natively snapshot and use the snapshot capability to have a full and the incremental backup. And honestly, if I need to choose the best, let's say, backend storage that works with the vProtect, it will be a Ceph today. The second flavor that I said is on the right side. You can see that the Storware vProtect can actually store in the data in a different formats. First one is the file system, and it could be CephFS, but there is no point because we can directly talk with the S3 protocol with the Ceph object storage itself. So this is this next option when we're using the Ceph as one of the backup destination. So we can take it from the source, the data, again with the OpenStack, OpenShift or Red Hat virtualization, and directly we can store it. Of course, I do not recommend it. Take it and store it on the same repo, even if we have replica. There is no point here. But for your information, we are also looking to have the capability to backing up the Ceph itself. It will be later this year. but right now we have a R&D about it, so working closely, because we've seen also the need from the customer side and the partners that they would like to protect not the Ceph itself, not from only the replica point of view, but they would like to have some point in time option to take the data and put it into the different repository. Okay. Just to remind for you, if you know the vProtect itself, you heard already that vProtect, it's backup and the recovery platform for the open hypervisors, cloud, and the containers. So there are the 6 different features that we can introduce to the market. The first one is the VM level, container level, and the agentless and incremental consistent backup. The next part is the snapshot management. So this is the part of the Ceph integration that we can use the native snapshots from the Ceph perspective. We can protect the application backup. We have our own generic way how to do it in a proper way, but we can work also as an independent backup server or the proxy to the other vendors like IBM, Dell, or Veritas. This is a little different story than the other vendors. We have both options that we introduce into the market. So we call it freedom of choice philosophy. This is what I said before. So choose what and where you would like to store, and everything. I'm guessing the Ceph has the same, the RESTful API for the most things that we can automate, fully hidden, and integrate with the third-party platforms. Okay, this is what I said. Let's do the QA, but before QA, let's put on in the end, let's go to and present the live demo. So let's try to explain we said easy installation, so it's time to prove it.
Yes. I have on my small notebook 4 VMs. One is the Bastion where I installed the cockpit, and 3 OSD nodes. Every of this OSD node have 20 gigabytes volume. There is my console,
yes,
which describe what exactly I need. I need 3 VMs. There is the volume with the Ceph will be using as a OSD. I log into the cockpit, which is a web-based tool to manage many aspects of operating system. For example, you can, I don't know, reconfigure the networking in this virtual machine, etc., etc. But now I focus on the Ceph installer. Well, as you see, there is a few questions which you need to answer. First is will be production on developer POC phase. Of course, development. Why development? Because the production phase, when you see some errors or warnings, cannot gives you a button next or install.
Okay. So for the lab, definitely it's easier.
Absolutely. Second part, I need to fill up service login, account login. Why? Because the Ceph gives you capability to install in the container every of the pieces of the Ceph, I don't know, OSD, MDS, etc., etc. Without in the RPM installation still some components, for example Prometheus and Grafana is installed as a container in the system. Okay, because there is a very small installation, there is every of question and answer. Now I add the host.
So here you define the number of the hosts that they're waiting with the storage itself to add to the cluster.
Yes, of course. Because I am lazy administrator, then I put the 2 rows in the single step. I add new host. Here we are.
Explain. So we have a metrics. So it's a management here.
Metrics, there is the host, which is stored in containers, Prometheus and Grafana.
Okay. Okay.
And for example, in this cluster, I put on this node a metadata server to give you ability to using CephFS, and on this node, Rados gateway to access through the S3 protocol. And that's all. Validate. Probe host. In this phase, the Ceph verify configuration, verified resources, verify, I don't know, network speed, memory, etc., etc. As I mentioned, there is a 3 small virtual machine. Then after the validation, you will see, yes, warnings. Warnings because I have not enough memory, I have not enough network bandwidth, etc., etc. The space in this virtual machine is too slow. But remember, there is the reason why I use the POC, not production environment.
So production will not move forward.
Absolutely.
Here. Okay.
Next, of course, very simple environment. I have only one network. In the production, there is strong suggestion to using different subnet, different network cards to cluster network, to public network, and to the S3 network. Review this configuration. Of course, we see our 16 warnings. There is description, OSDT Blue Store, installation of RPM instead of containers, and save and deploy. That's all.
How much time you will need to finalize the process?
On this notebook, about 20 to 25 minutes.
Okay.
Then we will be not waiting for finish this part. But that's all.
So no, okay. Let's say we finalized, then we would like to add the new host. So we're coming back to the installation. We just add it to the cluster. Yes.
This installer at this moment don't give you this capability, but this installer left the Ansible playbooks on your file system. And if you want to add new functionality or new server, then just put information about the server into the inventory of this Ansible. And that's all. That's all.
Started changing, doing the job. Okay, like you said, it's quite easy. So I think most of the admin can go. So where we can start the journey with the Ceph? Can you, let's say, put and recommend any sources or websites? If we start, it should be from the community perspective, and what can Red Hat again give you from the scratch? Okay, redhat.com/Ceph. That's all. Quite straight away answer.
Yes. But we're thinking about some question and answer.
Yeah, so let's start the QA session. So we'll close right now the official part and we'll go to the QA session. So thank you for watching us. We recommend you to go to the Open Virtualization Pro portal, subscribe us, and see you on one of the next webinars. Thank you.
Thank you.